All right, Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's Friday. Hey. Welcome to it. This is another edition of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty, and of course, we're about to break it down this morning. Remember, if you want to get in touch with us, our website is at www.bigdaddyliberty.com, and there, of course, you'll be able to contact us, and of course, hey, throw a bit of a financial contribution towards the show. Welcome to it. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How about we get straight into the news? All right, we begin here this morning, and I begin with a quote. What is the face of a coward? Well, it's the back of their head as they turn and run from a battle. And I adapt this quote, which of course comes from a famous political series, House of Cards, on Netflix. I adapted, of course, in describing Thabang Mampane, of course, who was the former chairperson, or rather commissioner, of the National Lotteries Commission. Now, she was the head honcho at the commission until very recently when she resigned from her position. And why did she resign? Well, it probably has a lot to do with the now revelation that this woman had allegedly siphoned off money from the Lottery Commission, by the way, the National Lottery Commission manages money that is meant to be dispersed to the poorest of the poor and those South Africans who are actually doing charitable work. So this is money that is meant to go to NGOs, people who are doing community-based work and the like. In this particular instance, Miss Mampane literally decided, hell, why should a school in Limpopo which burnt down and desperately needed money to be rebuilt, why should they get money when I can just, in her case, siphon off this money allegedly to build myself a swanky, wonderful multi-million rand home in a luxury estate? Now, bear in mind, I raised this issue because we had this conversation yesterday in regard to a one Mapisa Ngakula. That's the chairperson, or pardon me, the Speaker of Parliament, who had bought, via Parliament of course, 2 new swanky BMWs on top of the 4 luxury Land Rovers that were bought for them, the political elites in that institution, not more than 2 years ago. And I made the argument yesterday that the political elites and politicians are trash. They will literally siphon money, your last rand, out of your pocket, dear South African, as you struggle to make ends meet so that they can enjoy a swanky life. They are greedy beyond measure. Let me be precise and specific. Thabang Mampane, she, as the commissioner, had an annual salary of 4.2 million rand, but that didn't stop her, allegedly, from siphoning off money meant for a school, to rebuild a school, into her own pocket. The piece, of course, where I read this was in Daily Maverick, which basically described this situation, including her resignation, quite aptly as such. Her resignation comes just after 2 weeks after that's the Daily Maverick, revealed that the lottery funding meant to build a Limpopo school raised by a fire during a protest had been used to pay for her luxury home in a golf estate. The house itself is in an upmarket Pekinwood estate, which abuts the Hartbeespoort Dam in the Northwest Province. It's registered in the name of a trust in which Mampane and her husband Samuel are both trustees. The couple, of course, and their 2 children are all beneficiaries of the trust. End of quotation. It's fantastic. Life for them is fantastic. Not only do you make a multi-million rand salary, but then you also proceed allegedly to steal from the very poor. You are tasked, as the commissioner of this organization, you are tasked with dispersing what is lottery funds to them. So no, them poor kids in Limpopo, no, they can get study under trees. They can get rained on, be exposed to the elements, to hell with the poor, according to Mampane, allegedly, if these allegations are true. Oh, to hell with them. But for her, only the best, with a nice view of the Hartbeespoort Dam. I keep butchering that. But indeed, this is no laughing matter. Because again, I've made this point before. When they do it once, they'll do it again. And because they are so used to exploiting us, ordinary people, this, by the way, according to the same piece, is not the first time that this particular character has secured a multi-million rand not only employment and a lead job, but effectively before she's been let go before under a cloud and received a golden handshake. This is not a poor person by any stretch of the imagination. The same piece by Daily Maverick continues to say that this is not the first time that Mampane has resigned from a high-powered job. In 2010, she resigned as acting chief operations officer at the SABC after she was caught on CCTV camera eavesdropping on a board meeting where her performance was being discussed. This, of course, followed the SABC board's dismal performance before Scopa, that's a committee in Parliament, the previous month. After the Scopa hearing, Mampane came under pressure to give up her post, but she retained her well-paying job as a group executive in the office of the CEO. And here's the kicker. In 2012, she then received a golden handshake of 4.3 million rand from the SABC to prematurely terminate her contract, thereby after that joining the NLC as commissioner. End of quotation. What more can I say? What more can I say? These people are living large off of you. You endure the blood, sweat, toil, the poverty. They enjoy the high life. Right now, as I speak, there is 400 rand between me and poverty. Do you think she ever has a situation like that? Where there's only a few pittance in her bank account that she has to make last till the end of the month? And by the way, I say this knowing that I'm not one of the worst people at all in this country. There is a poor chap living in a shack on a sand dune somewhere in Cape Town. His life is far removed from the millions that this woman enjoys. No, Mensa, something has to give. Insofar as this particular woman, the status of the investigation against her by the NLC is yet to be determined. But by golly, law enforcement has to swoop in on this matter very, very quickly. And I mean very, very quickly, because for as long as the political elites escape accountability, as is seemingly the case here, then no one else will have any incentive to consent to the rule of law. It is a dangerous situation and one which requires a reaffirming, if you will, of law and order and really the rule of law in this country. To hell with these politicians and political elites. Politicians are trash. All right, as I try and calm myself down from that first story, woosah. I'm calm now, people. I head to another story where perhaps I show you why stories like those make me angry. That is, I show you the effects of how political elites and politicians who continue to steal, pillage, and lie at the top, what the effects of that are in the real world. Well, I'll bring you to this piece, which is in the Business Insider, which it basically points out that South African households were collectively poorer in the 3 months prior to June, according to a survey done, of course, by Momentum and UNISA. This is a survey it puts out quite regularly. That's the Wealth Index report. Now, reading from the particular piece, it really cites this issue in the following way. The index found that households' wealth dropped by 1.2 trillion, that's 1.23 trillion, to about 15.75 trillion for that period under review. And the decline was mostly because of effectively a 10% drop in the value of household financial assets, such as your pension funds, long-term insurance, and your investments, such as unit trusts, end of quotation. So that the picture is absolutely crystal clear. And that I'm hoping you're able to see that there is a link between what policymakers, politicians, and the political elites do and how the effects of their ideas, their policies, and their ideological outlook affects you and your ability to provide for your family. There is a real world correlation. In this case, there is a 1.23 trillion rand reduction in our wealth as ordinary South Africans, from the poorest of us to even the more richer ones. So that something has to give, as I always say. Insofar as who continues to having to tighten their belt? Should it be you, the ordinary citizen? Should it be you, the individual who wakes up day in, day out, whether you work a quote unquote lowly job as, someone who manages a taxi rank or drives a taxi, or a nurse, a police officer, a accountant, whatever, who continues to tighten their belts as politicians continue to expand theirs? As the government in this country continues to expand in its size, you are shrinking. You and your family are shrinking. So that this morning, unfortunately, I'm in rant mode, and I must ask you to forgive me. I'm in complete rant mode because I'm drawing the links, and I've been talking about this for years, that the more power we give to politicians and the political elites, the more their institutions, corrupt institutions, continue to grow, bloat, and expand, the smaller we become as the faith, flag, family, and freedom type South Africans. It's a fact. So that I have no real analysis on this issue except to say you are becoming poorer. And there's now a real time and a place, if you will, for us to discuss alternatives to this. More on that on Liberty and Friends this Sunday at 8 p.m. We'll discuss this issue, and I'll unpack it with greater detail with economists who can help us talk about what you can do to push back and save your wealth, your savings, meager as it is, to save it from a rapacious pirate elite, a leech elite in this country who we call politicians. All right, folks, I suppose I must end on some form of good news just to help me woosah even further. Maybe in that regard, here's some good news, albeit it comes at a bit of a double-edged sword in and of itself. The price of petrol. You can expect it to drop next month. That's in a few days at this stage. You can expect it to drop by as much as R2.60 per litre for petrol, of course, and R2.30 for diesel being projected to be the sort of drops we may see. And of course, for those of us who still use paraffin, you can expect a drop of about R2 per litre of that. That's, of course, according to the AA, the Automobile Association. And the piece I saw this in, of course, was in The Independent, which basically cited that the price of oil this year had soared to its highest level since 2008, climbing to, of course, as you'll remember, $139 a barrel in March. That's after the Western countries had imposed severe sanctions on Russia over the conflict with Ukraine. The easing, of course, of global oil prices follows weak manufacturing data in major economies, including ours, by the way, in South Africa. You'll remember we did that piece that showed that manufacturing has been in a decline, and it highlighted, of course, the darkening global economic outlook, end of quote. Yeah, so a bit of good news, I suppose, something that might ease your pocket. But again, it's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, these prices may be going down, but the inflationary picture in this country is not looking any better. I know what it is to walk into a grocery store with a limited budget, and I must say this, if I can see what it is to pick something up which used to be a staple, check the price, see that the price has ballooned, and put it back quietly and look around to see if no one saw me do that out of the shame of my poverty, I can only imagine what it must be like for those who are on a fixed income, a fixed, often meager income, like our pensioners and poorer South Africans. Guys, our poverty is not going to improve until we begin to improve, firstly, the ideas of the people who hold political power in this country, and those ideas being geared towards a liberty perspective. More freedom, more free trade, more market approaches, more jobs, more prosperity for you, and less for the political elites and politicians. Once again, I'll say this, more on this and more on this Sunday's Liberty and Friends. Do not miss it, Sunday at 8 p.m. And that's it. All right, folks, that's it from me for today, the Friday edition of the Vuka Nazo. I hope I didn't spoil your weekend too much. Oh, my goodness, people. Don't shoot the messenger. But with that being said, hey, if you want to get in touch with this messenger, find me on my website. That's www.bigdaddyliberty.com. If you're looking to maybe make a financial contribution towards the show, people do on average 100 to 150 Rand a month. Guys, it's not a lot, albeit I know it is a lot of money. But if you're looking to contribute, please, all of that information is on my website at the very bottom, and you can become someone who helps me grow this brand and this show. With that being said, if you're watching this on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, especially on YouTube, do me a favor, subscribe onto the YouTube channel and hit that bell notification so that you're notified every weekday from 7 a.m. when this show is up and live. With that being said, happy Friday, Shabbat Shalom, and I'll see you guys on Sunday for Liberty and Friends, and next week, Monday, again for Vuka Nazo.